Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday congratulated Donald Trump for winning the U.S. election. In his first public remarks since Trump's win, Putin said Trump acted like, quote, a real man during an assassination attempt on him, and added that Moscow was ready for dialogue.
If any of the Western leaders want to resume contacts, I have always said, and I want to say it again, we have nothing against it. As you wish, let us resume contacts and hold discussions.
During his campaign, Trump said that he would bring peace in Ukraine within 24 hours if elected, but has given few details on how.
I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin, and I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly.
Reports that Trump had spoken to Putin as many as 7 times since leaving office in 2021 sparked concern in the White House last month.
Do we have serious concerns? Yes, if it is true.
Can you say yes or no whether you have talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing.
The 2.5-year-old war in Ukraine is entering what some Russian and Western officials say could be its final, most dangerous phase, after Moscow's forces advance at their fastest pace since the early weeks of the conflict.
For Susie and
Republican President-elect Donald Trump named campaign chief Susie Wiles as his White House chief of staff on Thursday. In a statement, Trump said, quote, Susie is tough, smart, innovative, and is universally admired and respected. I have no doubt she will make our country proud. The longtime Republican strategist and fellow campaign manager Chris LaCivita are credited with running a more disciplined campaign compared to Trump's previous bids. The billionaire thanked them both during his victory speech earlier this week, referring to Wiles as the Ice Maiden.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background.
Wiles previously worked on Ronald Reagan's 1980 presidential campaign and helped Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis win election in 2018. She served as a senior advisor on Trump's 2016 and 2020 presidential bids. Trump ran through 4 chiefs of staff during his first term as they struggled to rein in the famously undisciplined president. Now Wiles will be the first woman to serve as White House chief of staff, a position of significant influence. The post entails being the president's gatekeeper, organizing his time and schedule, and maintaining contact with other government departments and lawmakers. Wiles' appointment is the first of what are expected to be many staffing announcements as Trump prepares for a return to the White House on January 20th.
But once upon a time, I wasn't a Trump guy either. And trust me, the president never lets me forget it.
JD Vance was once a bitter critic of Donald Trump. He called him an idiot in public and compared him to Adolf Hitler in private. Today, he is one of Trump's most ardent defenders and heir apparent to Trump's re-energized Make America Great Again movement. Vance's transformation makes him a relatively unusual figure in Trump's inner circle. And at 40 years old, he will be one of the country's youngest ever vice presidents. So how did he get here?
Our movement is about single moms like mine, who struggled with money and addiction, but never gave up.
Vance was born into an impoverished home in southern Ohio. Trump's advisors who supported Vance as his pick for VP argued he could give the campaign a boost in the Rust Belt, where voters in a handful of battleground states would determine the outcome of the election.
So look.
Vance's hardcore conservative views and sometimes awkward appearances on the trail gave Trump allies and donors pause.
I'm JD Vance, I'm running for vice president. Good to see you.
Okay. But as the race wore on, Vance showed some prowess at tailoring his message to his audience. In September, Vance amplified a baseless conspiracy theory that Haitian immigrants were eating household pets in Ohio. The false tale energized Trump's conservative base. After serving in the Marine Corps, attending Yale Law, and working as a venture capitalist in San Francisco, Vance rose to national prominence thanks to his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. He was harshly critical of Trump in 2016 and during the opening stages of Trump's term in the White House. But by the time Vance ran for Senate in 2022, he demonstrated signs of loyalty, including downplaying the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters.
Thanks to the president for everything.
that won him the former president's endorsement, which put him over the top in a competitive primary.
After the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Trump and many of his allies and advisors see Vance's transformation as genuine. But Democrats and even some Republicans have questioned whether Vance is driven more by opportunism than ideology.
The collapse of Germany's three-party coalition has triggered political chaos in Europe's largest economy. So what happens now?
So in this period, German politics will be very weak.
Political analyst Stefan Marschall said the leadership vacuum could weaken German politics for months to come.
We are now in a transition period in Germany, which means that we have kind of a government which is going to step down very soon, and we don't know how the new government is going to look like.
The coalition collapsed as German Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked Finance Minister Christian Lindner of the Free Democrats Party. Scholz is now expected to head a minority government with his Social Democrats and the Greens. That means they will need to cobble together parliamentary support to pass legislation. Scholz said he will call a confidence motion in his government for January 15, paving the way for holding a snap election by the end of March. But opposition leader Friedrich Merz is urging an immediate confidence vote and is pushing for elections as early as January. Scholz largely controls the pace of events, meaning the opposition can only push him out earlier if they can find a majority for a specific alternative chancellor. Jörg Kukes has been chosen to replace Lindner as finance minister. Now deputy finance minister, Kukes was formerly a Goldman Sachs investment banker. Scholz said he would ask Merz to support urgently needed budgetary measures. The German economy is already struggling with higher energy costs and eroding competitiveness. The political chaos will bring more pain to its ailing economy, further hurting confidence. That will likely be another blow to consumption and investment, which are already poised to decline. The world's third largest economy has lagged the European Union average since 2021. It is expected to shrink for the second year running in 2024, making it the worst performer among the G7.
With potential Trump tariffs ahead, Taiwan says it will help its companies relocate production out of China. Taiwanese companies have invested billions of dollars in China over the past 4 decades, taking advantage of historically lower costs. But incoming US President Donald Trump has promised to impose tariffs of 60% on US imports of Chinese-made goods. And Taiwan's government, wary of stepped-up pressure from Beijing to accept Chinese sovereignty claims, has been encouraging its firms to move investment elsewhere. Another worry, the world's largest chipmaker, Taiwanese TSMC, is investing $65 billion in the US state of Arizona for new factories. But Taiwanese lawmakers have voiced concerns Trump might cancel subsidies for TSMC. The economy minister said on Thursday that there is a contingency plan, including helping more companies in the supply chain to move to the United States. TSMC has not commented on any concerns it may have about the subsidies. Taiwan and the United States have also been holding talks under a series of different trade initiatives that Taipei hopes will lead to a broad free trade agreement.
Mozambican police fired tear gas at hundreds of opposition supporters converging on the capital Maputo on Thursday, in the biggest demonstration yet against last month's disputed election. Human rights groups say at least 18 people have been killed in the police crackdown on protests since the October 9th vote, which extended ruling party Frelimo's 5 decades in power. Opposition parties, civil society groups and Western observers said the election was unfair and that results were altered. A Frelimo spokesperson did not respond to requests for comment. Thursday was dubbed the Day of Freedom in flyers distributed on social media by presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane. Mondlane commands a strong following among the country's disenchanted youth and came second in the official election results, but claims to have won. Security forces patrolled the main highway into the capital on Thursday morning. A Reuters witness said crowds of people tried to make their way into the city on foot. Elsewhere in the city, groups of protesters burned tyres and blocked roads. South Africa closed its main border crossing on Wednesday for security reasons and advised its citizens against all but essential travel to Mozambique. A South African logistics company on Thursday said it had suspended port and terminal operations in the country. Mozambique's Constitutional Council this week ordered the Electoral Commission to clarify why there have been discrepancies in the number of votes counted in the elections, according to a letter seen by Reuters. An Electoral Commission spokesperson did not immediately respond to a message seeking comment.
Time-lapse video captures multiple Israeli airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs. Subjected to 2 waves of bombing, one late Wednesday and another early Thursday. At least one strike was just meters from the runways of Beirut's airport. This was the scene of devastation on Thursday morning, whole swathes reduced to rubble. Testament to how negotiations to stop the war stalled ahead of the US election. A Hezbollah lawmaker, asked about US Republican Donald Trump's election victory, said the armed group welcomed any attempt to stop the war in Lebanon, but didn't pin its hopes for a ceasefire on a particular US administration. Ibrahim al-Musawi said it wanted to see US actions, not words. Israel's government has welcomed Trump's return to power, saying he was a leader who would support them unconditionally. The Israeli military has repeatedly battered strongholds of the Iranian-backed armed group Hezbollah in the Lebanese capital's southern suburbs and in the south and east of the country. Further south, in Sidon, a damaged bus belongs to a United Nations peacekeepers convoy. The Lebanese army said an Israeli strike on a car passing through a checkpoint killed 3 Lebanese citizens and wounded 3 Lebanese soldiers and 4 Malaysian personnel with the UNIFIL peacekeeping mission. Israel says it is targeting Hezbollah infrastructure and military assets while avoiding civilians. But Lebanese authorities and Hezbollah point to the widespread damage and soaring death toll. More than 3,000 people have been killed in Israeli strikes on Lebanon over the last year, the vast majority in the escalation of the past 6 weeks. Israel and Hezbollah have exchanged fire for more than a year, in parallel with the Gaza war. Some of the most deadly of the latest Israeli strikes were in the eastern Bekaa Valley on Wednesday. Lebanon's health ministry said at least 40 people were killed around the city of Baalbek. This historic Ottoman-era building next to the city's famed Roman temples was also destroyed. It was the closest Israel has come yet to striking the UNESCO-listed site. Since fighting intensified in September, Israeli troops have fought their way into Lebanese villages. The army releasing this footage on Thursday showing Israeli soldiers in a ruined landscape said to be southern Lebanon.